What's up, everybody? Welcome to my channel. Today we will be reviewing the all-new 2019 Chevy Blazer, and let me tell you, this thing is full of modern, beautiful looking angles. This is the Premier Edition. Here comes in an L, an RS, and the Premier. The Premier happens to be the top of the line. RS is more so performance, although this one does come with the same engine as the RS. The L comes with a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder, and the RS and the Premier come with a V6 3.6 liter, making 305 horsepower, which isn't too shabby for an SUV of this size. Outside styling, you'll notice very quickly that this right here on the front, this is not actually the original headlight. These are your dame time running lights. Your headlights are actually located right under in here, and for those that have questions, they most definitely do get the job done. You will never have any illumination problems at night. 100%. They are bright, big time bright. Moving on, we have, this is an option, but we have 20-inch finished silver wheels here on Premier. The Premier comes with quite a few wheel options. You can get black ones as sported on the RS. You can get 21-inch wheels. There's multiple choices for the 20-inch wheels as well. Moving on to the back of this car, you see the beautiful angles continue, and the beautiful chrome exhausts are integrated into the bottom of the rear fascia. Now, on the RS, you can get these as outside attachments, not necessarily the same way. If you catch what I'm saying here, this part, the actual frame is not the same. You get an actual exhaust pipe with a curved insert for the exhaust on the RS. Now on the L, which is the lower model, you don't get either one of these. You just get a traditional exhaust. Now, talking practicality, you see that the Blazer has quite a bit of space in the back here. Only 2 rows of seating, as you would expect from a mid-size crossover. A little bit bigger than the Equinox for those that are familiar with Chevy models. The back seats have rear levers here. In the back, you can fold over your seats. Unfortunately, you cannot bring them back up, but this is a very good solution to those that are carrying heavy objects. Maybe you want to set down a long 2x4 in the back, and you can pull this lever here, one on each side, just a quick pull, and the seats completely lay down. Like I said before, there's no shortage of storage in the back of this vehicle. You got cubbies here on the side. From the bottom, you have your spare tire under here, as well as the jack. Moving on to the interior, if you bear with me for a second, you close this with just a touch of the button, or you can use the fob. Quick double tap of this button, and you will have the same effect, open or close. Now, hopping inside, getting into the Blazer, you'll quickly realize that this car was not a rushed product by Chevy. They knew exactly what they set out to do, and they most definitely did that, because this car continues the trend of beautiful angles and quality materials inside. Look at the attention to detail on the leather seats. It's a great material. Look at the accents in the seat, my personal favorite. It's continued on the dash, more leather, more beautiful materials. It's continued in the back. If you see that accent, it's in the driver's seat. It's on both sides back there. There is no shortage of attention to detail in this car. You see that the speedometer is very different from your traditional car. This only has typical analog speedometers on your left, on your tachometer, your fuel gauge, and your heat gauge here. The rest of this is all a screen, and it's highly configurable. You can go through using your steering wheel scroll, very easy to use. You can use these side buttons to open more options. You got your miles per hour, trip, fuel range, tire pressure, fuel economy, average fuel economy. You can switch over to your phone. You can switch over to nav. You can go through your options. And when I said that there's a lot of options, 9 of 13 pages. You might wonder what that means. That means the stuff that you saw at first. We haven't even used all of them. You can add speed limit, economy trend, oil temperature, oil pressure. This thing is loaded with information. So those that are more so into something that's going to be like a Camaro or a Corvette, you're not losing any of that information in this infotainment or the dash, whatever you want to call it. It's all here. The infotainment system over here, this screen, if you take a look at this, look at the angles on this screen. It looks like a tablet, like it would come right out of there. Of course it wouldn't, but we have a lot to say about this. This is loaded with options. The amount of responsiveness that you get out of this screen here is about as good as you will get out of any cell phone. I will demonstrate for you as soon as we find the settings here. Look at how responsive. Most infotainment systems, you press, maybe you get a response. This, it's one press and you know what's happening. Look at all the options that come in here. You got rear seat reminder and all this stuff in here. This isn't here just to make you think that the Blazer has a lot of options. It truly does. Your comfort and convenience. This here is full of everything that you might need to make your driving experience even better. Hands-free liftgate and trunk control. This is, for those of you that don't know, you get outside, you got something heavy in your hands, you put your foot right under the liftgate, and as I'll demonstrate, there will be a Chevy insignia, or bow tie as we call it, on the ground illuminated from your Blazer. You kick your foot onto that light and the rear opens up like so. We can go on all day about the features that are found in this infotainment system, and I truly mean that. We have lighting, we have power door locks, we have it all. We have seating position, all this stuff that you can do analog in this car, you can also do through your infotainment. Teen driver mode, this will tell you if you hand your Blazer to your teen driver, this gives you your report card. After you set your PIN, you go in here, and after you get your car back from your teenager, you go back in here. It gives you a report card. It tells you how many full throttle accelerations, how many speed limits have been passed, how many school zones have been passed, all the good stuff. Moving on, we have valet mode. It's not quite the same as the Corvette or the Camaro, where you can hand your keys to a valet, go into here, turn it on, and you get a full recording of what's going on with the valet, what they're doing with your car. But you still do get complete mute of your media in here. The valet will not be able to blast music or anything else of that nature in this car. The throttle is limited to a certain amount, a safe amount, so that your valet isn't abusing your car while you are inside doing whatever. Moving on, you see more, and I mean more. Seriously guys, we can go on all day. We have, I skipped over this, my fault, but we have Android Auto, we have Apple CarPlay. Simply connect right into here with your USB and onto your phone, and it automatically connects to Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, whatever you have. You have your Wi-Fi hotspot in here. You can completely configure that to whatever you want. You can put your own Wi-Fi password. You can change your Wi-Fi name. You have phones here, so whatever you have connected, you can edit, you can delete, you can add, completely configurable, all to you. The display here, not much, but and I like this feature personally, because there has been times where touchscreens in cars do get miscalibrated. You press over here and you get a touch read over here. You can completely calibrate that again. You just touch these buttons like you'd do anything else. and it's completely calibrated to your touch right after you finish this. There you go, touch screen calibration successful, and we're still good to go. Now, moving on, this bottom trend here, this little line is your little hot bar. These are your hot applications, which you'll be using most. Right now you see that the radio is on mute, so that's on mute. So we can't go directly to the radio. Or you can, my fault. Moving on though, you got, once this moves here, we have a phone. You might be wondering what that's for. You can connect your phone, go completely through your contacts, completely through your favorites. If you're not connected through the Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, you can do it this way, through Bluetooth. You have your nav right here, and let me say that this is a beautiful navigation. You can completely configure it. You can set up your work. Say if I worked here, which I don't, I can go right here. Now we put in our address. I'm not gonna set it because this is not my car and not my settings, but if you'd like, when you buy this car, you can set whatever location that you are at currently as work, or you can set it as home, and the car will recognize that, so that whenever you use your voice recognition, just say, take me home, take me to work, no matter where you are in this world, you're going to be taken directly to wherever you marked. This is another feature right here. Right now the climate is off, but when you turn it on and you see that there's a slim little button down here, you get all your good stuff up here, the same that you would down here. And I love this because sometimes, let me give you an idea. Looking up here, or those that are taller than me, if you're up here, you can't necessarily see all this all the time. So Chevy made sure that you have quick access to all your climate control buttons on the screen if needed. Now moving on down here to the buttons that I said might be hard to see, but unless you're very, very tall, you should be able to see these. You'll notice I've never pressed this since I've turned on the car. This is the cooled seat, and since the temperature outside is reasonably warm, this cooled seat came on automatically, and vice versa. If it's cold outside, your heated seat comes on automatically, and you can turn it off the same way that you do in any other car. Your climate, your temperature right here, very much like the Camaro, like I said, you turn this and your temperature goes up or down depending. You close your vents the same way, almost exactly the same as you do in a Camaro. You have all your climate control buttons down here. All this is completely configurable no matter which side you are sitting on. It's very easy to hit from your passenger seat, from your driver's seat. You are completely at ease with comfort in this car, and I truly mean that. Moving back over to the front here and the gauge cluster, you will realize that as much attention to detail, I guess there wasn't too much detail to be had on the wiper wing, or whatever you want to call it here. It's just your traditional wing, nothing wrong with it. The same over here. You got your lights on this one, turn signals, and whatnot, everything else that's gonna be on there. Over here you have your light controls. You can turn them on, off, very easy. It's honestly hard to mess this up right here, and I'm very happy that they did this, because in old Chevy models it was complicated to turn on and off your lights if you're trying to do it manually, and I have plenty of stories about that. Over here on your left you have your mirror controls, very easy to use. Select which mirror you want, move around, get your little wiggle, and you're good to go. And if you want to take it off because you keep your hand there, you can do that too. Just be sure your light is off, press the button again, and you're good to go. This will completely not affect your mirrors now. Beautiful attention to detail. I love that. Now you will notice that since we're in the Premier Edition, this comes with a Bose sound system there, and I'll tell you that it does sound beautiful. You have speakers all around this car, in the back, in the front. Sorry if I'm making you dizzy, but I mean, it's hard to keep track of all of these speakers. And moving on to the back, as I will get in there soon, because it is not hard to get in the back of this car as much as people may think. It's really not. Moving on to the back of the car, you see that even the back has your convenience back here. You got a whole household outlet in the back. You got your cup holders in the middle here. Not too much to see back here. In the back, you got your traditional window controls. You have your heated seat, your rear heated seat button right back here, and that's on both sides, same spot, so it's not hard to confuse. Well, vice versa, it's pretty hard to confuse. It's the same exact button on each sides, which I love, because there's been times in cars, and I cannot say this enough, there's buttons in places and controls to certain things in places that are just beyond me. Like, you never truly expect things like this to be approved, but, and I'm not talking about this car, I'm talking about other cars for clarification, but for example, you have buttons that on one side might be up on the door panel for whatever reason, and it's approved. I love the fact that Chevy is very, very much getting out of that norm, because for years there were little wild cards that were thrown at customers from Chevy. Not anymore, not at all with this Blazer. This Blazer is very, very straightforward, very practical, very easy to use, very easy to get used to, and very easy to fall asleep in, as you will learn if you are in a passenger seat in this car. It is unbelievably comfortable. Now, if we hop out of the back seat, unfortunately, I will not be able to show you the rear lift gate because it's right out right now, and I'm not 100% sure how to work it, honestly, because I can't see the insignia in the light. But moving on, let's get our first impressions on the drive of the Chevy Blazer. And real quick before we take off here, I'm just need to address this here. This is your drive modes, and although there are actually two more that come on certain models in the Blazer, this one has your touring, has your snow and ice mode, and your sport mode. And I will say, for a crossover, when you switch these modes, you truly feel a difference. Tour is very light, it's your normal driving mode. Snow and ice almost feels like you're towing, because you get into your RPMs quite a bit before you actually take off. That's just to be sure that you're ensuring your grip in the snow and the ice. And finally, in sport mode, your steering stiffens up quite a bit, a noticeable amount, not too much to where it's, let's say, hard to drive, but you definitely feel the difference. And that much is said about the throttle as well. The gearing lets you go so much deeper into gears to allow for that sportier feel. This is your park assist button here, and that will sum up just about all of the interior of the Blazer. Oh, quick little Easter egg. I love, and I know it's not much, but I love the way that they put this button showing how much air flow you have coming through your vents right there. It's a cool little touch. And furthermore, you have more storage in here with a lighter hole. You have an SD card covered up by a sticker. Sorry if you wanted to see the whole insert of that SD card, you're not seeing it today. You have a micro USB and a USB in there, both accessible to Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Now, enough ado and enough talking. Let's actually see how this thing drives. All right, impressions driving the Blazer. Very comfortable, very good steering angle. Nothing you don't already know. Let's get it out here on the road if I can get out of my subdivision. Oh boy. So immediately you hear that V6. Of course, you probably can't hear it on the camera because it's not loud, but it's a nice little grumble. It's definitely not anything that sounds terrible. It doesn't sound like metal clanking around. It sounds good. It sounds like a little bit of beef to it, a little bit of sportiness to it. And that's really good for people that want the RS model, because honestly, you're buying that RS badge, the Rally Sport badge, for a little bit of sport to it. You want a little bit of extra giddy up. And this thing for sure, this 3.6 liter V6 is not slow. It's not crazy fast, but it's also not terribly slow. And another big point with this car that you notice right away is just how smooth this thing is going around corners, over bumps and stuff. It's not, and I know this car specifically received a lot of criticism for not being the Chevy Blazer, the one that was off-road capable and ready to take on the trail. This is a different suit for the Blazer. This is the revamped Blazer. This is driving around the city in max comfort and max practicality while also turning a couple heads. And I won't lie, I haven't turned many, but seeing as how new this thing is and how many beautiful angles are on here, as I said, I've seen people stop and stare at this car quite a few times, and you have that little awkward moment where you lock eyes with that person staring at the car and they go, they have no idea what to do. I've been in that situation many times looking at sports cars, other things like that, new cars that are out yet to come out. Now I'm gonna go ahead and switch this over to snow and ice mode, even though of course you know there's not really any snow, but it's important to check this stuff just so that you know that the car company Chevy isn't just giving you all these modes to think you have customization, but actually giving you the customization, because there are cars out there that have these separate drive modes but change very little, or actually in some cases basically change nothing. And I'm finding myself here almost having a hard time getting started because I don't want to give myself too much throttle input. But you definitely notice the difference in the throttle input it takes to get this car moving with the snow and ice. And that reason is because, like I said before, in the snow and ice, you don't want your tires to just take off a start. You want them to more so grip. You want more power put into your grip to get you going, because getting going in the snow honestly can be the hardest thing to do, especially for rear-wheel drive cars. But you don't have to worry about being rear-wheel drive in this, because this comes front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. This one's a front-wheel drive. You notice, of course, a little bit of oversteer, but we're not even on the highway yet, so nothing crazy yet. We're gonna switch over into sport here before we get onto the highway. Yeah, but driving through the city, no complaints with this car. This car is very, very smooth through the city. The auto start stop, I've had no problems with that, where you sit there and wait for it to come back on. It comes back on the second, and I mean the absolute second that you take your foot off of the brake. You are completely ready to rock in this car. And that's a big step up, because auto start stop for some people has been a nightmare, and some people just switch it directly off because of that. In this car, you don't really have to worry about that, thankfully. Getting onto the on-ramp here. Oh boy, Michigan drivers. This might take a minute, folks. We're behind somebody. We all know that certain somebody thinks that it's okay to merge onto the highway at 30 miles per hour. Still not on the highway. All right. Oh yeah, Sport definitely gives you that throttle response, just like you'd want it. If you're in something sporty, you want your throttle response to be very quick. Not that you'll be hitting corners and going on the track and whatnot in this thing, but you get what I'm saying here, I hope. That a sports car, sports mode, you expect quick, everything quick, and the throttle response is lightning quick. No turbocharge helps with that, and in a blink of an eye, even in this car, you look down at the speedometer and you're doing a number that your mom would slap you for. Overall, so far in this car, it has been a blast. There's no true complaints. Most cars have that one thing that bother you, that one thing that you just, it's so good, but it's just got that one thing. No, this car, at least for the average driver, for those that aren't looking to do anything crazy with the car, you're getting exactly what you want in this car. And let me remind you, the whole time you're driving in this car, you are wrapped, and I mean wrapped in leather. You have the heated, cooled seats, completely comfortable. You have the leather wrapped steering wheel, which is also heated, which heats up, might I say, very, very quickly. And that's for anybody in Michigan or up north, you know, in the winter, getting into a car like this with a leather steering wheel, your mitts get pretty cold pretty quick driving this car. Driving a car with a leather steering wheel, and you really don't have to worry about that in this. So thank you, Chevy, for implementing that, because many cars have it and many people love this feature. And that's about all I have today for the Chevy Blazer. If you are interested in this specific one, come to Feldman Chevy in New Hudson. We'll hook you up with a great deal. We're open every day except for Sunday. And thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. I'm new to YouTube. I'm accepting all the love. Thank you, guys.